Tara from Wildflower. I have another video for you today. So after the last video, we had a request from Stephanie who wanted to see an olive tapenade. So that's what we're gonna do today. For an olive tapenade, you need an assortment of olives. Now I have Kalamata olives, I have black olives. Traditionally, I like to put in the green olives with the stuffed pimentos inside, but I don't have any of those. And since we're quarantined, I'm not gonna use any. But this is a great video because I kind of want to show you that there's different things that you can do and things that you can use from your fridge in order to make something. So it doesn't always have to be traditional. We are going to talk about a traditional olive tapenade, and then I'm going to show you Tara's tapenade. So you can decide and you can figure out what you have in your refrigerator and then use that accordingly. So for our olive tapenade, I'm going to be using a food processor. If you don't have a food processor, you can always use your knife and just give the olives a nice rough chop. I'm going to start with the Kalamata olives, and I'm going to add those to my food processor. So Kalamata olives are pretty salty. These are pitted. Obviously, you don't want the pits inside of them, but these are pretty salty. So I'm not going to add any salt. Maybe I'll add some at the end depending, but typically for an olive tapenade, the olives themselves are pretty salty, so you don't really need salt. So I'm gonna throw in some of these Kalamata olives, and then I have some black olives. Kellen loves black olives, and so does Kian, so we have them available at our house all the time, and I love Kalamatas, so I use those all the time. Now, like I said before, I don't have any of the green olives, which I like to use for color and also flavor, but since we don't have any of those, we're gonna make do without. The next thing I'm gonna add after I've put in my Kalamata olives and my black olives is some garlic. So I'm gonna throw in 2 cloves of garlic because I like a lot of garlic in my tapenade. The next thing for our traditional olive tapenade would be anchovies. I don't have any anchovies. I don't like anchovies. John loves anchovies. We always fight back and forth about our olive tapenade, whether it will have anchovies or not have anchovies. But since we don't have any, I don't have to use any. So the next thing I'm going to add to the tapenade is I'm going to add some capers. These are a berry, and they are also very salty because they're put into a brine. So you want to make sure that you give these a really good rinse. So I'm just going to throw a little bit of caper in there. Of course, John loves capers, so for him I add a little bit more when I'm making this. You can determine how many capers you want to add to yours. So for a traditional tapenade, I would also add some basil into the bowl, but since I don't have any basil available, I'm gonna put in a little bit of parsley because I have some parsley. And then I have some oregano from our garden, so I'm gonna throw in some oregano too, just because I really like the flavor, and I had it, it was convenient. So you could always add in here whatever you like, and whatever you have. I'm gonna add in some lemon juice. Remember, we had the big, huge lemon from Arizona, so I'm gonna use the other half of this finally. Put in some lemon juice. And then I'm just going to give this a spin on my food processor on pulse. I'm gonna wipe down the edges of my bowl just to make sure everything gets incorporated. And a tapenade is kind of chunky, so you want to leave it a little bit chunky. You don't want to puree it all of the way. You want to leave a little bit of chunk inside of there. A little bit of texture. So now I'm going to drizzle a little bit of olive oil into my tapenade. Still has some texture to it, which is what we want. It's got a really good consistency. The olive oil adds a little bit of flavor, and then it also kind of helps bring it together. So now I'm going to put it in my bowl. traditional tapenade would have some fresh basil in there, and then it would also have some anchovies. So since we don't have those, we're doing Tara's tapenade. So we had the Kalamata olives, the black olives, the garlic, some olive oil, oregano, and then parsley. So now what I'm going to do with this tapenade is I'm going to put it over pasta. So you can see the boiling water behind me, and I'm gonna put in some fresh pasta, and we're gonna use it for that. But I'm gonna take this traditional tapenade and I'm gonna add a few things to it that I like with my pasta. So here's a few things that I'm gonna add to my tapenade to put over the pasta. I'm gonna add more fresh oregano. Just pull the leaves off. And then I had some chives, so I'm gonna add a little bit of chive. Give it that nice onion flavor. Sometimes I'll do a small diced red onion, and that's also really good. And then I have some tomatoes. I have these heirloom style cherry tomatoes, and so what I did was I just cut and sliced them up. I'm gonna add those to my olive tapenade. Mix this together. And then to kind of play along with our last video, I have some artichoke hearts that are marinated in some Italian dressing. So I'm gonna take those artichoke hearts and I'm gonna add them to my tapenade. So this is just a really simple dinner idea for a weeknight. I mean, we're all in quarantine right now, so we have some time on our hands, but it's still a quick meal. So maybe you've been busy throughout the day. Maybe you're still working. Maybe you're an essential worker and you want something fast for dinner. So this would be it. You just take things that you have in your refrigerator that would work for this, and then you mix it all together. So it's fairly simple and it comes together really quickly. I'm gonna add a little bit more of the lemon juice to this. Give it some brightness, some freshness. Works really well with the olives. But when I am working 12 or 14 hours a day, I don't have time to make fresh pasta. So this is a really good alternative. You can find this in the grocery store. It's fresh pasta and it cooks in like 3 minutes, and it's better than the dried pasta. It just has so much flavor. It just tastes so much better. So I think this runs about $2.99. It's a wonderful deal, especially for a weeknight when you're in a hurry. 3-minute pasta. It's absolutely delicious. So I urge you to try it. So I'm gonna cook my pasta and then plate up my tapenade pasta. Okay, so we have this beautiful fresh pasta. I'm telling you, it is worth it. Then I'm gonna take my tapenade, get some of those tomatoes and the artichokes, everything in here. Looks so good. And then I'm gonna add a little bit more of the chive and a little more parsley. And then I'm just gonna top it with some grated Parmesan cheese. A little more garnish. And then I'm gonna take a little bit of olive oil and I'm just gonna drizzle it around the pasta. It has such great flavor. I always use a really flavorful olive oil. So this is what I do with my olive tapenade. This is one of my favorite things to do. A couple of other things that you could do with your olive tapenade is you could put it over a nice piece of bread, toast it up, make it a crostini, and then put the olive tapenade on that. You could use the tapenade to serve with vegetables. You can use it to serve with your hummus platter, charcuterie platters. You can turn it into a cold pasta dish also. So when you're making your traditional cold pasta, you could add this olive tapenade mixture to that, and it's really delicious that way too. I love to make a vegetarian wrap and put the olive tapenade down, put some spring mix, some tomatoes, some artichoke hearts, carrots, cucumbers, anything that you have in your house, and turn that into a wrap as well. It's really, really delicious in a wrap. Another way that I like to use it is to put it over a nice piece of cooked fish. So I like to grill my fish, especially like a nice piece of cod, and then put the olive tapenade on that as well. Of course, I use the terrace tapenade where I add the tomatoes and the onion and the other fresh herbs as well. It tastes really good on top of a nice piece of grilled fish. We didn't add the anchovies to our tapenade, so technically it was vegetarian. We did add some fresh Parmesan cheese on the top. You could leave that off, or you could use the vegan Parmesan cheese and turn it into a vegan meal easily. So Stephanie, I hope this helps you, and I hope this helps everybody else as well, of finding something that you could make. And just don't be afraid to leave something out of a recipe and add something different and create your own based off of what you have in your refrigerator. Especially in these times, we're not going to be running to the store to get that garlic clove or the fresh basil. So just use what you have around you and turn it into something delicious. Stay home, stay safe, and stay well.
Je cherche un amour